Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today we have another amazing story coming to us from the US. We have Alanna Robelia on board. Alanna recently shared some of her experiences in a recent documentary called Alien Abduction Answers. The governments of the world cannot hide anymore that alien contact is happening. This is a film of what, why, and how it's occurring. Most importantly, it offers an answer to the question, where do we go from here? A documentary directed by experiencer John Yost and includes other experiencers like Whitley Strieber, Debs Shakti, Alanna Robelia, Stacey McCardle, and others. Of Alanna Robelia's childhood dreams of being either a world-famous artist, author, or teacher, she has so far checked the latter off the list, but time will tell for others. In the meantime, she will continue to do what she can to help and nurture others and make a positive mark on the world. When she's not scouring flea markets and thrift stores for vintage finds and curating away to many social media accounts, she can be found starting and sometimes finishing a new art project or gazing beyond the stars. After spending most of her life moving throughout the Midwest and Texas, Alanna has replanted her roots in her birth state of Wisconsin, where she plans to live out her days embracing her roles of family historian, crazy Halloween aunt, and most importantly, mom. All of her life, she carried the memory of her childhood experiences with her. It never went away. She only thought it was a dream, but later discovered that multiple members of her family had experiences, which made her wonder if there was more to her dream. When she moved back to Wisconsin in 2016, her aunt, who also appears in the documentary, began confiding in her about her experiences. And it was through her that she met the wonderful people who would eventually become part of the film. So without further ado, I'd like to share with everyone 2 trailers regarding this new wonderful documentary. So enjoy.
I think a lot of people who have had these experiences and have chalked it up to a dream are probably afraid of what it would mean if it was real. You only fear what you don't know.
This is not communication, it's communion. Hundreds of thousands of people have claimed contact. That will change you. It changed me.
Lost in between two worlds and two dreams.
This was something that I kept buried for years. Strange things would happen. I didn't want anything to do with it anymore.
He came at me, and I fought for my life.
Ships started to pop up in the sky.
And there's this bizarre disk of light. And it is moving across the sky very fast.
The experience is often very terrifying.
If I felt fear, I would crawl under my covers, hoping that it would go away, whatever it was.
I know that we were put in that craft.
I knew I was going to go to another planet.
And the being was right next to my face.
He saw 2 shadow beings. That's when I felt like I was going to die.
I had a real encounter with something. Even if I had to live with the fear, is to know the truth, is to know.
So, Alanna, anything of like particular interest happened to you as a kid?
Well, yeah, I had a really peculiar dream when I was small. I spent a lot of time on my grandparents' farm in Wisconsin, very near where I live live today, about 30 minutes or so from here. But I had a dream one night that I was with this little being. It was about my size, gray skin, almost white, translucent, really. And he had large almond-shaped eyes, and we were just standing together. We were just surrounded in darkness, and we were just there. And as soon as I became aware of its presence, I was suddenly back in my bed. And then I was just laying there, and it was looking down at me, and I was looking up at it, and it slowly started to change and morph shape. And then suddenly I was awake, and I was looking at a photo of a cat on my bedroom wall. So it was, I had a calendar of cats, Cat Fancy Magazine calendar. And there was a big fluffy white cat with big dark eyes, and that's what it had transformed into. And so when I opened my eyes, I was looking at that photo on the wall, but I remembered what I had seen before that. So it wasn't like I couldn't remember it. I was like, whoa, what just happened? And I remembered it all my life. I was about 4 or 5, so around 1979 or so. That's a long time to carry the memory of one dream.
Yeah. I still remember my first ever nightmare, which probably was a screen memory of a gray, but I saw a like 3-foot tall boxing glove on my bed doing this. And that freaked me out. And I still remember it to this day. And go figure. But now, was this being beside your bed or on top of it?
Well, I don't really remember surroundings while I was aware of its presence. It was just the face. It was just its face.
Okay. So did you see like from the neck up or?
Well, in the earlier part of the dream, when we were standing side by side, I could kind of tell. I could see most of its body, at least from my perspective, standing next to it.
Now, I suppose you had like a normal bed at the time, or did you have a crib?
Yeah, twin size bed.
Okay.
I woke up the next morning. Looking at the cat is when I woke up for the day.
Okay.
And that was it. And I never told anybody, not a single soul, about this dream.
Did you ever figure out why this being came? Was it like a checkup of sorts? Did you?
I don't know. I don't remember any sort of interaction other than just being side by side and looking at each other.
What type of eyes did it have?
Oh, they were very, very large, like the almond shaped, kind of like this.
Okay.
Dark black, just black eyes, tiny little mouth. And I don't even remember if it had a nose or any kind of nostrils or anything.
Yeah, we usually remember the eyes and the mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up having this dream, but you really, did you put it off as like a nightmare or dream, and that's it?
Yeah, I did for most of my life.
Okay. During that time, did you ever figure out what it was?
No, I did not. I mean, later on, of course, I saw things in movies and on television, and I always had an interest in those kinds of things, but I never really thought, hey, that's what I saw. I guess after the initial fear of it happening, I just kind of put it in the back of my mind, and I would think about it every now and then because I can still see it like a movie in my mind, but I never talked about it. I never really, I thought, that seems like that was an alien that I saw, but I don't know that I even ever had seen one even on television before then. Now, granted, that was about the time Close Encounters came out, but I lived on a farm and I didn't go to the movies. I was a little child. We lived on a farm with maybe two 2 or 3 channels on television, back then.
Yeah.
And I don't think at that point I had ever seen anything in media that looked like that.
That's the fun part of not being influenced at the time by
Right.
different like tabloids and stuff. I know like I think my thing started off when I was 2.5, 3. So yeah, that's would be around 78. And again, we had only 3 channels, black and white TV, the bunny ears. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we weren't really influenced by anything. So so that really proves that what you saw is real. It's not now that you could like put it off as something you might have seen on TV.
Right. Because I could, later on, of course, consumed lots and lots and lots of media with that subject, and really nothing really looked just like that. Like even the beings in Close Encounters didn't look the same as what I saw.
No,
Not at all.
Did you ever like get a good grasp of the type of skin it had? I know this is hard.
No, I'm just trying to think of a way to describe it. It kind of seemed like human-like skin texture-wise. It just was a different color. It was maybe slightly, that's about all I could say is it's just like skin, just a different color.
Some talk about dolphin type skin, at least texture wise when they do touch it.
Mm-hmm. It didn't seem like shiny or luminescent to me. It just seemed just like a lighter color.
Did it try to communicate with you, or just
not that I can recall? No, we were just hanging out.
Oh. So you woke up, it was there, then it realized that you saw it, and then it tried to cover itself with the screen.
Right. Right. That's what it seems like. Yes.
No.
She wasn't supposed to see me. But
yeah.
Now, when I remember waking up distinctly, my heart just racing and being really kind of scared of what just happened. Like, oh my gosh, what was that? What just happened? But I don't feel like in the moment before I woke up, it was very calm, like just more of a curiosity.
Okay.
It was kind of peaceful,
Strange.
really.
Now, yeah. I suspect. Now, what color of eyes did the being have?
Black.
Black. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard people talking about blue eyes sometimes because they use the color blue to sort of not dumb you down, but sort of calm you. So I guess there's something with that frequency that I've heard, at least. Okay. Now, were you afraid of the dark? Things under the bed?
It's funny that you say that, because where this happened was the farm that my grandparents had. And I spent a lot of my childhood there. I have so many wonderful memories there. It's one of my favorite places on the planet. That's the only place that I was ever afraid to stay asleep in my room.
Okay.
Which is really strange. Almost every night I would get out of bed and I would climb into bed with my grandpa. My grandparents had separate twin beds. And bless his heart, my grandpa would let me climb into bed with him almost every night. I never did that anywhere else, living with my parents or ever. I don't even remember that I really needed or wanted a nightlight, I mean, there were always night lights around, but not that I was really scared. It was more just to see in the dark. But that was the only place where I was always afraid at night. I would wake up and I would climb in bed with my grandpa every night until I was almost a teenager. Like the last time I spent a real significant amount of time there was, I'd say I was around 11 or 12. And even then I would end up in their bedroom at night because something would scare me. I couldn't tell you what. I don't know why I was afraid, but I was. And it's funny because that was the place where other times I was the most comfortable and most free, but at night, not so much.
Are you aware if anything else happened, like ghost activity, paranormal within that house?
No, no,
Okay.
I wish. I wish I
Yeah.
had known, but I mean, I would hear strange noises, but it was usually like, there being out in the country would be animal noises, or sometimes you could hear like the cows outside. You could hear them banging against the pipes, the water pipes. You could hear that sometimes if they were in the barn in their stanchions and they were banging against the pipes. You could hear that sometimes, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Okay. Well, that's funny that you talked about the age of 11 when things stopped for you. But like we talked beforehand before the interview started. I said that I'd be like so afraid of the dark because I knew that beings were in my bedroom as a kid, and I was so afraid that I slept at like tucked against the wall from the age of like 2.5, 3 up until the age of around 11. That's when it stopped because I might have gotten abducted that during that time because I remember like waking up in my sleep, but my eyes were closed, but I'm totally aware, conscious that I'm awake. It's just that my eyes are closed, but I feel that my legs were in the air, like at a 45-degree angle. And
Wow.
I cry out no in my head. And as soon as I say that, I feel my legs falling back to the bed with a thump. And then I black out.
Wow.
So I stopped somewhat sleeping against the wall during that time, which is strange, but who knows really. So you grew up with this, okay, sort of dream, and you never talked about it to your folks. No. So I'm wondering why. So because this is, I guess, for a kid, could have been somewhat traumatic.
Right. I don't know. Because it really wasn't a memory of anything frightening. It was just something unusual. So.
But don't you find it strange that you're waking up to this, seeing this, somebody's definitely in your bedroom, and you're not crying out?
Right. Oh yeah, I was petrified. I was frozen. I didn't move or make a sound.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if they do control you in a fashion to not scream out and
right.
But you're a kid also, so we okay. So what happened after that? Like you had a normal growing up, like normal teenage life, I suppose.
Right. And then I guess you could say the trigger that brought it all back to the forefront for me was watching TV one night, and I saw the trailer for the movie The Fourth Kind, and it had images of the barn owl morphing into the face of an alien being, and I went, holy crap, that is just like my dream. And I said it out loud. I think I even cursed. I was like, holy. And my mom and my daughter were there, and so I had to tell them why I had such a strong reaction to this, and I told them about my dream. And then my mom says, well, did your dad ever tell you about the time that he and I saw a UFO out there? And I was like, no, nobody ever told me any UFO stories growing up ever. So she told me when she was pregnant with me, she and my dad were driving through the country. It was probably about 5 or 7 miles from my grandparents' farm, and they saw a craft out in the field, and it followed them around. It followed them down the road, and then they got out. They stopped the car, got out, and then it just shot overhead and was gone. And again, they never told anyone. She said she'd never seen my dad so scared, and neither of them spoke a word to anybody about it. And so the next chance I got to ask my dad about it, he told me the exact same story. And he said, no, he had not told anybody about it. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then later, years later, when I kind of reconnected with my aunt, and and I moved back to Wisconsin in 2016, she started telling me about her experiences. And I was like, well, these are some lots of coincidences here. All these things happening in the same area and around the same, early to late 70s and beyond, perhaps. So
interesting.
very strange. So
Getting
that
back to
got the ball rolling for me into thinking, okay, there seems to be something more to this.
See, it's fun that you're talking about like your mom being pregnant with you at the same time as seeing the UFO. I've recently interviewed a Japanese experiencer whose parents were, I think on the East Coast, of the US, around New York, and her mom was pregnant. I think they were like on a beach somewhere, and at night they saw a UFO. And she's a major case, they're major experiencer. So that's pretty cool that both of you have had that same experience.
Yeah, and so I think so. I've always wondered. Okay, so is that when they started? When that became interested in me? Had they had some kind of they monitoring me since I was in utero or what? I don't know. Kind of cool. I like it.
So your aunt's experiences started in roughly 79, you said.
I really can't speak for her. I don't know exactly when her experiences started. She was young. She and I are 10 years apart. She's 10 years older than me. But it was definitely in the 70s. She's had a lot more frequent and varied experiences. Of course, she lived there. She grew up there. As for me, I visited. I stayed, on and off. I wasn't always there. So she had a lot more experiences, but she did share one where it kind of confirms that something was definitely happening in that location. She said that when she was, I can't remember how old she was, and I can't remember if it was during a time that I had been there or not, but she and my grandmother were doing laundry and the phone rang and the neighbor called and said, you need to look out your window. There's something down in your field. You need to look out your window. And so they did. They looked out the window, and sure enough, down in the field, there was a silver craft in broad daylight, just hanging out. I mean, that was a neighbor that saw it and alerted them. So that's three witnesses right there. So now I know. So then I learned, okay, so I've had an experience, my aunt had an experience, my mom and dad had an experience, and my grandmother had an experience. So, and I can't speak for my grandfather, I don't know whether my grandmother had any more experiences beyond that, but if I could go back and talk to her again, she's since passed, but I would definitely ask her.
Did they see anyone coming out of the craft?
Not that I don't think so.
So I said, was it a saucer?
I think, if I recall correctly, it was kind of an egg-shaped craft. Yeah. Or
Mine too was
oval or egg-shaped. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But to be down there in broad daylight was just remarkable.
Okay. Did anything else happen to your grandma? Did she like ever wake up on a craft or like see a being?
That's the only thing I know about, and she never spoke of anything ever about it. So who knows? All I know is that my grandma, after they looked out the window for a little bit, my grandma told my aunt, all right, well, let's get back to folding this laundry. And that was it. Never talked about it again. And that was it.
I don't know. I know a lot of people that would freak out seeing this type of stuff.
Yeah. And who knows? Has she seen something before that? I don't know. Or maybe she just didn't know, her mind couldn't comprehend what it could be.
Oh.
But she definitely saw it.
Yeah. So how did she feel about this?
I have no idea. I
Wow.
really don't.
Because I remember this person that I think a family saw a UFO and like above them, and some of the family members recognized what it was, and the father said, "Well, no, it's not a UFO. It's a restaurant flying above their heads." That that's how dumb their response was.
Interesting. Wow.
So yeah, so different people, different ways of reacting, I suppose.
Right. And I only learned about this a couple years ago myself, so I couldn't say. She passed away a few years prior to that, so
yeah,
one of those conversations I wish I'd had.
My grandmother, she had a lot of dreams about flying, so I would have really liked to nitpick her brain, knowing what I know now.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, you talked about you have a lot of military in the family, so I'm just trying to figure out if that's like a contributing factor to the to why you've had these things happen.
Well, it's hard to say because most of the family members that I have, that are older than older than myself, are people that are a little bit removed from me. Like, well, my grandfather, my maternal grandfather was in the military, and like his brother and lots of uncles and cousins. My mother is an Army veteran. In the 80s, she was in the Army in the 80s, but I don't know. I've never actually thought of that. My brothers are also Marines. I mean, I do have a lot of military throughout my family, different branches, different generations, but I've never actually thought of that as being a factor.
Are you aware if any of them had like a research posting?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Now, how did this bring you up to where you are now? Because the fact that you came out and you started looking for answers, it really changed your life.
Yeah, well, having the opportunity to become closer to my aunt. I mean, we were actually more like sisters than aunt and niece. We've actually through her, she's been learning more about these things because she's had so many more experiences than I've had. So she's spent a lot more time learning about the possibilities of what's been happening, and so she's just kind of taught me, the resources and different things that I never was even aware of. I didn't even know there was such a thing as CE5 or any of that. And we actually went to a fun retreat together in 2017 where I had my very first experience with that community, and it was very enlightening, and that's where I met the wonderful Deb Shakti, for which it just started this wonderful snowball of being in this film.
Beforehand, you talked about doing C5s and stuff like that. So you probably did you have like any interaction with lights in the sky?
Oh yeah, we had there were a lot of the flash bulbs, responding to our trying to summon them, and hey, come on, and just a lot of just really interesting things. My very first night at that CE5 event, I was all excited, and my aunt and I were sharing a room together, and we were laying it. We were exhausted. We'd had a long day, and she was laying on this side of me, and I was just I couldn't sleep out. My mind was racing. I had had such a great day, and it was pretty hot. It was September, and so I was wearing shorts, and I had like how you stick the one leg out as a temperature gauge, to get comfortable. I had one bare leg sticking out underneath the blanket, and I'm just kind of laying there, kind of at an angle next to my aunt, and I felt like fingers go broop on my back, and I was like, oh, I'll scooch over a little bit and give her some more room, and I looked over, and she was laying like this, and her hands were in front of her. She was sound asleep in the fetal position. Those were not her fingers that were touching me. And so I kind of went, okay. And I turned a little more, and I felt it a second time. And so in my mind, I just kind of said, all right, I know you're here. And then when I thought that to myself, I felt on the bottom of my foot something go, like somebody took their finger and went like that on the bottom of my bare foot. And then I laughed. Like I was like, oh, okay, hi. So yeah, that was confirmation that things were gonna happen.
Yeah. I had that from 2009 to 2015. Not every month, but I get like double taps at night just to wake me up. And at first I thought it was because like my back was not under the covers. So let's say things started off in winter. So I thought, okay, it's maybe the cold that I'm reacting to. But now I'm getting double taps, but then I wake up because of that. Then I realize, well, my entire body's under the covers. And then at like month after month after month, and sometimes even like twice a night. I remember one time was my shin got double taps, wake me up. Then I fall back asleep, and I thought, okay, they're back again. Then I get double taps on my shoulder. So that was really amazing. So hearing that from you is really, really cool.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about that is we had driven, I think it was about 9 hours or so. We had driven to this location, and I was really kind of dreading sitting in a lawn chair for several hours a night looking up at the sky, because I have a little bit of lower back pain from time to time, and I thought, oh, this is going to be murder on my back. Not only did I just drive half a day almost, to get here sitting, oh, my back is just not gonna. And do you want to know what? I had no back pain the entire time, and that was a spot that they tapped was where I usually have the pain. Yeah.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yes.
Okay. So how's your back now? Is it?
It comes and goes.
It comes and goes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had loads of people on that had healings by ETs, so it's really fun that
I've got friends who have had some
had that
fantastic experiences with healing. Yeah.
Don't you find it strange that you've got this like one like small percentage that had bad experiences, but a whole lot more that had like really positive ones? So plus healings, like some from really, really bad cases like Crohn's and arthritises and stuff like that.
Right. Well, if you and this is addressed in our film, different, humanity have different agendas and different things that motivate them, and it only would be natural for other beings to be similar in that way, where maybe some are out to help, maybe some are out to harm.
How did it come to be that you took part in this documentary?
Well, Debs became a good friend after meeting her the first time. Just you become anybody that meets Debs becomes an instant friend. She's just such a wonderful person, and we had just kind of gotten this group of friends together. Everybody in this film, we were already friends before. We already knew each other. We had already met before and had experiences together in the CE5 community. And she just said, hey, would you like to be a part of this project? And I was like, well, I don't really feel like I have that much to contribute, because I just had one little thing, just one little thing happened to me as a kid, but it's kind of part of a larger picture for me,
Yeah. I remember my first time really coming out, and at least publicly, was at a conference. So I'm glad that you had this chance to start speaking out. So how was it during the filming with the energy of being with everyone?
Oh, it was one of the best experiences of my life. Let me tell you, my favorite part of it was for each person that told their story. I mean, let's see, I don't even remember how long the movie is, less than 2 hours, right? Each person was interviewed for at least an hour, at least an hour. And we each got to sit and watch all of the interviews as they were being filmed. And wow, in the film, we just see a tiny little bit of that. And every one of those humans has just so many great things to share. I joked with John that you could make a series, you could make a television series and have an episode for each person because they're so interesting.
I love them all. I screened it on Vimeo a few days ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. So anyone watching there, if it's a good movie, good documentary for everyone actually, from like the beginners to those that are in the know. So I really like the animations and how the whole thing was, I guess, introduced to everyone, because there's a part of it's really regarding you guys, the experiencers, and then there's also John, his journey through this, and plus all the artwork and how everything's pushed in and then brought together. It's really good. So
yes, I really think it turned out beautifully. Couldn't be more pleased with it. And yeah, the visuals are just gorgeous. And I do think it's going to be, it does kind of reach the full spectrum of audience members. It might not be for everyone, but if you even have a little bit of an interest in ETs and that kind of phenomena, I think you'll get something from it. I think everybody can get something from the film.
Yeah. One thing that clicked was one of the experiencers had shadow people. I had shadow people in my bedroom. So I guess there's a bit of everything for everyone. Did you ever have any backlash from people, from neighbors, coworkers, because of you coming out?
Well, I kind of grew up. I moved around a lot as a kid. My family moved around a lot due to my dad's job. So I had a lot of experience with being the new kid, being a little bit of an outsider, not always fitting in, So this was just kind of another example of that where I don't care. I don't really, people might, I haven't directly received any negative response from any of this, but if I did, I don't think it would really bother me that much because this doesn't matter to me. Now, I can't speak for others. I know there are others in the group who have received a great deal of negative response and have for even before the film received negative response from people just for being honest and sharing their experiences. But I mean, mine is so little bitty that
But you're part of a story, a
Yes.
family story. So that's why I wanted you on, because sometimes it's only the individual and it's sort of localized. But now that you've got like surrounding family members that went through who had something similar done to them, do you have any siblings? We never talked about that.
I do. I'm the oldest of four. I have two brothers and a sister. They didn't get to spend as much time as I did on the farm, though. So they in that location. So it's kind of to me. I think a lot of my connection, my familial connection, it has to do with the geographical location for some reason. And I don't know. And my siblings are my half siblings, so they're my father and my stepmother. So I don't know. Although I can't speak for them, maybe somebody's had an experience that they just haven't told me. But I don't know. That'd be pretty cool if they did.
Did you ever Google your neck of the woods if anything out of the ordinary happened?
Well, it seems to be a pretty much of a hot spot. In fact, there is a town nearby called Elmwood, Wisconsin, that every summer, every July, they celebrate UFO days because they have had multiple occurrences happen there. It's pretty cool. I've been a few times. Yeah.
Oh, I miss UFO conferences.
This is just a cute little hometown festival. It's a tiny little town, and they have a parade, and they have costume contests and all kinds of things, and it's really adorable, actually.
Okay.
And yeah, that's Elmwood, Wisconsin. So it's very geographically nearby where all this stuff has happened.
As a closing statement, do you have anything that you might want to talk about regarding your experiences and how it's changed you over time?
Well, I never really thought that I had that much of a remarkable story, but in sharing it, I found out that it's actually kind of is, and it's led me to meet so many great people, and it's just led to so many wonderful experiences. And even if people want to judge me and think that she's crazy, that she wasn't abducted, she didn't have anything like that happen to her, it was just a dream, that's fine. Don't be afraid to speak your truth and share your experiences, because there's gonna be somebody that's going to believe you and know that you're telling the truth. And that's what matters, is being able to be honest. And that's a policy that I've always had. Is, it's cliche, but honesty is the best policy. If you hide things and suppress things about yourself, then eventually it's going to try to find a way to come out. So you might as well just be straightforward with it to begin with.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been fun.
Thank you. Oh, and happy World UFO Day to you.
Same to you. So to those watching, hope you enjoyed today's interview. More interviews coming up. I'm your host, Mr. Great, and I'll see you guys next time. So take care, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Great, and thanks for watching today's episode. If you are an abductee, contactee, or experiencer, and you believe that your story could help others, please feel free to contact me through my YouTube channel email. When it comes to experiencers, the ET phenomena, and the future, remember, truth will out.